Welcome to our Devos this week, and we're going to conclude this set called What's in a Name as we focus on one of my favorite Old Testament names that God chooses to be known by in the whole Bible. And this one has such a rich story. I don't know if you've ever been in a situation that's so dark where you feel like God can't even see you or really know what's going on in your life. If you've ever been in a situation and you ask yourself, where is God? Like, does he even know? Does he even care what's happening? I want you to think about a name that one lady who was in a particular desperate situation called him once. And that name is El Roi. El Roi. It has the implication of the God who sees, specifically the God who sees me. The lady that called God this, her name was Hagar. And she is a lady that's she doesn't have a humongous story in the Old Testament. But essentially, she was Abraham's concubine. She was a person that Abraham had chosen to sleep with in hopes of having a promised child, because God kept promising Abraham that he was going to be a father of a multitude. He was going to bring about the greatest nation, and that nation was going to come through Abraham. So Abraham jumps the gun. Abraham's wife jumps the gun, and she says, hey, you know what? Maybe you should take on a concubine, and if you sleep with this girl and she produces a child, then we could have our promised child. And Abraham, being such a sacrificial man that he is, he was like, well, if you want me to sleep with somebody else, and if I have to do this for our family, I guess I got to do this for our family. So Abraham has an affair with this woman, Hagar. Hagar conceives a child. And then later on, whenever the situation starts to ramp up in temperature, and Sarah, Abraham's wife, actually does conceive a child, and that child becomes the promised child, Hagar becomes an outcast, and she is cast off. She's on the verge of dying. She's on the edge of not knowing what's going to happen, and she's there. And God chooses to provide for her. God chooses to save the life of her and her son. And as a result of this, she has a conversation where she mentions his name. She called the name of the Lord who spoke to her, "You are a God of seeing." For she said, "Truly here I have seen him who looks after me." Now, some of you might need to take this verse and put a highlighter underneath it and circle it. Because this is a woman who pretty much everyone else has rejected at this point. No one cares about her life. No one cares about her child's life. No one cares what's going to happen to her. She's lost everything. And what she realizes, what she comes away with at the end of this story, is that no matter what, she's seen by God. He is a God who sees. I'm not saying you have her story, but some of you have a similar story. The people that were supposed to care for you didn't. The spouse that promised would love you doesn't. The people that said that they'd always stay with you through thick and thin, your friends, well, they're not returning your calls. It might be easy for you to say, I don't know. If anybody knows, he knows. He knows because he is El Roi, the God who sees. He sees you. He intimately is acquainted with you. If you want to take this into the New Testament, we see that Jesus himself is called a sympathetic high priest, that he understands that he's been acquainted with our sorrows. He sees, experiences right where you are. The biggest lie that the enemy could sell you is that you're alone. Even bigger still is that God doesn't even know what's going on in your life. Well, I'll tell you that he does. He's the God who sees. So you don't ever have to feel alone again because you worship El Roi. And even though you don't see the end of your situation, you don't see a way out of it, God has been looking at you the whole time. His eyes are on you. And he knows exactly what you need to get to that next step.